Hey guys, it's Andrew Martin, and this is the Union Report. Chris Moulton was unable to join us today. He took a red eye to Miami. He's going to do some consulting with Messi and Inter Miami.
There you
Unfortunately, neither of them know he's coming. But
even though they're over here tomorrow.
Exactly, yeah. But however, we are joined with Monterey Bay head coach Jordan Stewart, who, if he plays his cards right, may get a co-host credit today. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. Just wanted to check in with you. It's kind of hard to believe we're about a third of the way through the season.
Yeah, literally.
And so, we wanted to sit down and ask you a few questions as usual. So thanks again.
No, of course.
So I'll start right off with, from your perspective, can you give a brief overview of how the season has gone so far for you?
I think if you look from a broad scope, it's gone well. Third of the way through. And I think we're second in the league. I don't really take notice of the league early on in the season, but I think I don't think we've kept the same lineup in every game we've played, including the Open Cup game. So a lot of fluidity within that, and I think it just shows the depth of the team and guys having the mindset of when they're coming in of competing and doing well. I think some of the stats I do look at is goals scored and goals conceded, and I think we're quite high on both. Mm-hmm. Obviously, as a defender, I don't like to concede a lot of goals.
You have a preference on which one, yeah.
And then on top of that, lots of away games, lots of travel. A couple of East Coast teams that have been in the playoffs, and obviously Rhode Island that made the final last year. So I think all in all, very, very pleased. But no, you still have 20 games left and lots of points. And I think if you look, it's there's still a lot of tough teams that haven't hit their peak yet. So I think going into the next 20 games is the same focus and kind of same mindset that we've had for these previous 10.
Okay. And I wanted to touch a little bit more on the depth you were talking about with the roster. You had said to us on multiple occasions before that you were seeking essentially going too deep, starter quality players in each position. I think it would be hard to argue you did not achieve that. But has it been difficult to manage that in terms of like getting minutes and all that goes into that?
No, absolutely. I think it's probably one of the biggest challenges as a head coach when you want so much quality in your team, right? So, but I think they understand that every training session and every game matters because you've seen the fluidity of lineup changes. I think it shows that whoever does come in is able to do a job and play on a high level. So I think for us, it's that competitiveness every day counts, and ultimately the guys that can compete, or sometimes it's not the best 11, it's the best 11 that can solve the solution that's ahead, right, of the opposition. So I think going into every game with a clear mind, and it's a clean slate. So no, I think it's hard, but I think the guys that we have in the locker room create a culture where everyone's trying to push everyone in the right direction.
So every match is kind of a different scenario for you when you're determining the matchups.
Yeah, of course.
Because I don't know if I'm incorrect, but from like a viewer's perspective, it seems like a substitution pattern. I call it like a thunder and lightning. You have a big guy that starts up front, a guy that's got really good quickness, and then you have like that same combo kind of coming off the bench later in the game. Often it seems.
No, I think it's always good to have kind of different profiles within the starting 11, right? Guys that can get in behind, guys that like to come to feet, and sometimes as more of a back line, you normally keep that together. But like I said, Granny's played, Sammy's played, Hoel's played as a right back, Mars has played the right back. Obviously, Lara played on the weekend when Nico couldn't go. So I think for me, the biggest compliment I can give the guys is there's never hesitation of the guy that's coming in, which is huge, right? If a guy like Nico Gordon gets injured and then who's your captain, and then Lara comes in and has a performance like that, it's amazing not only for him but as for the team to show that he has the right mindset, which is always huge.
Yeah, and does dealing with a deeper roster and all the substitution patterns, does that stretch you as a coach?
No, I think obviously having good staff, Jeremy Clark obviously helps me with when it comes to like substitutions, and we kind of talk about different scenarios before the games happen. But in the game, you never know, right? Whether it's someone getting injured early or someone gets a yellow card. So then you kind of have to maybe change your certain scenarios. But it's like I said before, to have the confidence of knowing there's solutions on the bench is always, for me, the biggest part, because the team that starts not always are going to win the game for you, right?
Mhm.
It's how you finish the game. So it's always important that the guys are ready to come on, which they have been over the last after 10 to 12 games.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you came in midway through last year, and you're now in your first full season with Monterey Bay. Is there anything that you can identify and that can kind of run the spectrum that's a big difference this year versus last for you?
It's the players. It has to be. Because I had 12 games last year and I won one and we didn't score in 6. So for me, I have the same philosophy, same mindset. Sometimes it's just, and I'm not saying that the players that we had last season were bad, but just of where I picture us to be, and the players that have come in have made the difference. We've got multiple scorers that have helped win games. We've got good defense. So for me, it's always the players. Like I can sit here and be like, yeah, I've changed this methodology, or I don't know, give some kind of confidence. But for me, it's always the players, because ultimately they're the guys on the pitch that have to deal with the changes. And like I said, it's a great respect for them guys that have come in, and new players that have been here, and everyone's gelled so well to create that culture. So for me, it's always the players.
All right. And a stat that I kind of ferreted out about you during your time here at MBFC that I'm kind of fascinated by is right now you have been on the sidelines for 24 games total.
Yep.
There's been exactly one game in those 24 where you either haven't won or you've lost by more than one goal. So to me, that means that you've either come away with points or been literally one play away from getting at least a point in 23 out of 24 matches.
Yep.
I mean, obviously the name of the game is to always come away with points, but you know, is that something that you've thought about or even knew about? Or
I didn't know.
It was a 2-0 defeat to
Detroit. Yeah, I remember the game.
Yep.
No, I think we always have opportunities to win the game, right? Whether you win them or not. I think Miami, we had multiple, and then obviously against Rhode Island, it's first half we did well, and then second half they kind of gained rhythm and we wasn't able to put emphasis on the game. But I think we always have a squad that likes to defend from the front. And that's, like I said, it gives the confidence of defenders of knowing they're not just have to defend. I think second half, Lara, Guzman, both the fullbacks, did a great job. We was unlucky for their goal that went in the top corner. There's not much you can do about that. But I think in general, as a squad, we do well defensively. And then we still have the ability to, when we win the ball, to attack fast. So I think for me, like I said, it always boils down to the players. I think we just try and put emphasis of how important both boxes are. Like you have to be clinical in the final third, but you also have to treat your defending third as a fortress as well. And I think guys show that every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And referencing the last couple of matches against Miami, and then this past week against Rhode Island, a late goal in the second half for both teams resulted in a draw in each instance. Do you, as a coach with a lot of obvious prior playing experience, do you view that as, sometimes things like that happen, or do you look at that as something where we need to, talk more about putting our foot on the throat or putting the gas pedal to the floor?
I think both. I think if you look in Miami, maybe the first 20 minutes we had 5 clear-cut chances.
Oh yeah.
I think if you put those to bed, then it's a different scenario, right? So I think you can look at that, and then there's always going to be periods of the game where the opposition is going to throw the kitchen sink at you, right? Sure. And I think with Miami, you could almost feel it on the sideline. I could feel them gaining momentum, and maybe us having mental lapses that just happen. And I think with Rhode Island, I think more so we started well first 25 minutes, played a good first half, and then going into the second half, they gained more momentum going into it. I think they had more possession than us, and then they kept the ball more and was able to rotate more. And I just felt that we didn't put a stamp on the game in the second half. We kind of let them off the hook in that way. So I think looking at Rhode Island is more, maybe I can do a better job tactically. I think Miami is more of, if we finish our chances, we just gain the momentum naturally, right? So 2 different contrasting games. I think, yes, we're undefeated at home, but it's for me, it's 2 points lost. And that's no disrespect to Miami, but that's just the way I feel. I think Rhode Island, if we would have won 1-0, I think it's a good result. 1-1 over the totality of the games, maybe a fair result on the road to a team that made the final. But I think the difference is, compared to like last year, is that we come away from that game feeling hurt because we didn't win the game. Whereas maybe before, it's the mentality is like, it's a good point. So it shows the mental side of, yes, it's a point, but we should be trying to win those games. And I think that's the difference, where if you want to finish first, second, third, fourth, then that's the mentality, and that's the focus where you have to change that aspect to get to them higher heights. So I think just a mix of both, but it's 10 games in, we're a younger team. And every day I say it's a learning process, right? Everyone has experiences, but it's what you learn from those experiences is the most important part.
Sure. Well, I've just got a couple more questions if we have time for that.
Yeah, of course.
So looking back at your time during a player, I'm sure you had a lot of different coaches, a lot of different things you had to go through. Is there anything now as a coach that you can look back at that you received as either feedback as a player or drills or something you had to do that you're like, man, this is stupid, or this is so annoying, but now you're like, wow, that was like really something I really should have listened to, or I'm glad they made me do it?
To be fair, I always, when I'm planning the training sessions with Jeremy and the other staff, I always try and put myself as a player first to see what would I learn from that drill, or if, I don't know, for instance, we've had a long road trip, right? So then come back, okay, what does today look like as a training session? Our guys are going to be tired. They're going to be mentally motivated to try and work on tactics or whatever, or do you make it more generic? So I always put myself as a player first, and then kind of base the need of what we actually need to work on through the week based on our opponent. But there's been certain situations, I think a couple of runs where I'm thinking, more so in preseason, where it's like, I don't want to run yet, because I know how I feel, but we have to do it just to get your fitness up. So normally I'll blame it on Emmanuel, our strength and conditioning coach. He normally takes the blame.
You had nothing to do with
it. It wasn't me. Manny said we have to do it. So
so just to kind of finish this off here, what should MBFC fans expect for the rest of the season, the last 2/3 of the season, from your perspective?
No, I think the same. I think what we've tried to do is break the season up into 3 segments. So phase 1 is the first 10 games, and then obviously we're going into phase 2 now of the next 10 games, and try not to focus too far ahead. I think if we stay on the trajectory we are, we'll be fine. But it's all about momentum, right? Obviously, I think we haven't won in the past 4-5 games, I think it is, something like that. But we are picking up points along the way, and we're still in a good spot. So I think it's just building on what we have. I think the guys know what they're capable of, and keep gaining that confidence. And like I said, going on the road at Detroit and Rhode Island and picking up points is never easy. But we still have the mindset of we're trying to go into each game and to try and win 3 points, right? So having that mindset on each game and training hard like we have been, I think we're in a good space. And obviously now, hopefully, with more home games, and we can pick up more points.
We won't complain about more home games.
Exactly, right. So it's, like I said, 10 games and 6 on the road, I think it is. So I think we're in a good spot. And the fans can just expect each game that we try and play is to try and win. Some games are different; they look different based on the opposition. But we're trying to get 3 points, and at the end of the day, we'll try and, like I said, make that playoff push. And then from there, who knows? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to it. And once again, thank you for joining me today. I've decided you will get a co-host credit.
There you go. Yeah.
So
put it down.
Well, thank you again.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
This is a Union Report checking out. We'll see you next time.